Hey, I am Pronger Faulkner, for those who don't know me, and I'm here today with Mimi Hricko to talk about our collaboration book called Absolute Will, which was released in October 2021. Thank you for being here, Mimi.
Thank you for having me.
So the idea for this collaboration came to me early this year, actually back in January, as I was working on my first book, and I kept allowing myself to get distracted with other things on my to-do list. You know how that goes, just life gets in the way. So many things on the go. But one of those things that was also on my to-do list was trying to come up with a good way to fundraise for a project that my fiance Mike and I want to do in Nicaragua. So eventually, months later, the urge to create an inspirational collaboration got so strong that I knew I needed to get going on it. And I really wanted women from as many countries around the world as possible to make this a global effort of inspiring others. And I wanted every story to have a health and a willpower aspect to it. When the idea came to me that a book collaboration would be a perfect way to fundraise, this book suddenly became my #1 priority to make it happen by the end of the year. All of the profits from the author entry fees and the sales through the first month of our launch are going towards Mike and I building a house for a family in Nicaragua who doesn't have a home of their own. I'm so thrilled that we have 21 authors in this book, me and Mimi and 19 other amazing women from 7 countries around the world. Our authors are from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Bulgaria. And together we are sharing our personal, vulnerable, insightful, true stories of willpower when facing emotional and mental health crises, physical injuries, and disease. Now, this book is self-published and self-promoted by all of our authors, not done through a traditional publishing house. It's a grassroots effort, which makes what we've done with it so far all the more incredible. I'm just getting excited just talking about it. My first book became a bestseller in 2 categories, so I was pretty sure that we could do it with Absolute Will, especially after I tweaked some of my marketing strategies, plus the fact that we would have a built-in book launch team with all 21 of us sharing about it. What I didn't expect, and I know none of us expected, is that we would hit #1 bestseller in 9 categories across 3 countries, Canada, the US, and Australia, and that we would also hit #1 new release in 31 categories across 4 countries, Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK. And that was just in the first few weeks after the book went live on Amazon. Just remarkable. The reviews so far on this book say that these stories are raw, real, sensitive, thought-provoking, heartwarming, life-changing, well-written, and that this book is a fantastic read. The stories are truly inspiring. Any reader can relate to these stories on some level. You feel a personal connection to each of the writer's journeys, and that this book has given so much hope to others. These are all direct quotes from the reviews on Amazon. Mimi's chapter is called I Hated You and Then You Died, Chapter 18 in Absolute Will. Welcome, Mimi.
Thank you.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what your chapter in Absolute Will is about?
Yes, so as you said, my name is Mimi. I live in the Kansas City area, and I have for about the past 20 years. Prior to that, I was from the Northeast, and I spent some time moving around in the military in the 90s. The chapter title itself, I know, is a little controversial, perhaps, when you first hear it, and definitely emotional for myself and the people that have experienced the death of my ex-husband, which is what my chapter is about. You know, when I was first trying to decide what to capture in the chapter, when I knew that we had the 1,200 to 2,000 word not limitation, because it's actually it was good to have, you know, that those parameters to give some direction and constraint, because all of our stories are more, right, than just a chapter. So when deciding what part of my story to share, that would encapsulate the purpose of the book, which was to share some of where we got our absolute will from. I actually took some advice from my good friend Beverly, who is also in the book, of a starting point. And that starting point was kind of a pivotal moment when I almost knew that I had to leave my marriage for good. And then just kind of sharing a little bit of what led up to that point, and then of course what transpired after that, which was another whole part of my journey that I would have never seen coming. So without giving too much of it away, that's the basic concept of what my chapter is about.
And I mean, with, like you said, without giving too much away, the things, the events surrounding, what happened in your marriage. Can you talk about that a little bit, about why, what prompted you to want to leave, and
Sure.
what prompted you to, be going through the challenges that you were facing?
Yeah, so I was married for, by the time the divorce was final, it was actually over 21 years. So I left a little bit after our 20th anniversary. And honestly, what the world saw was the perfect marriage. It was the American dream, the perfect family. We had 2 children. Actually, my son is from a previous marriage, but I married my ex-husband that I talk about in the book when my son was 2. So we were a family in that regard. So we had, 2 children, even like the American dream, boy and girl. And we had this 6,000 square foot home. He had a high paying job. I had a successful home business. We traveled all over the world, all the things. And I also saw and lived that life. So people don't sometimes understand that what they see is not always the full truth of someone's life and story. And I think that's why I have somewhat of a passion to share some of the details of my life story behind the closed doors, because there are so many people that don't believe hidden abuse. They don't believe the voices that are voiceless because people want to silence them. They're uncomfortable and they want to see the pretty picture. I mean, especially in today's world with Facebook and all of the other social media perfection image ideals that we see out there. That's what everybody wants to strive for. So they don't want to hear that it might not truly be that way. And because when you're in that situation, you are also living that side of the story to a degree. It's hard for people to understand or believe that there's this other side. So behind the closed doors, there was a lot of the typical, words that people hear are gaslighting, manipulation, reality distortion, all the things. And sometimes it's hard for me to share because I do feel like it. Let me rephrase that. My motivation is not to put down my ex-husband. My motivation is to raise awareness for hidden abuse. So one of the things in the editing process, I had shared some words that my ex-husband had said to me in some pivotal moments that I'm not sure if you want me to actually say them here or not. But
It's up to you.
Okay, I'll do it like we ended up doing it in the book and they went. So one of the things that he had said to me in a very scary situation, otherwise, he basically said to me, you mean nothing to me. You were never worth anything but a good F. And he even said, don't worry, plenty of my friends will F you. And when I was writing my chapter and I included those words in there, I know some of the women that had proofread the drafts had come to you and they were uncomfortable, and you had suggested we edit some of it to and I'll say, don't worry, plenty of my friends will sleep with you, and you were never worth anything but a good lay. And I had shared that I'm okay if we kind of alter, do the comic, ironically, it's not funny, right? But the comic way that people write the word F. But to change it, to lessen it, to softer, more comfortable words is the exact reason I want to use my voice for the voiceless. It's because people want to silence the discomfort of what is actually happening. So, and as there was a sweet, sweet girl that lost her life all over the news at the time of me writing this book. And, even episodes on TV that are real life stories, people are like, they don't see that coming. How did that happen? He was this, she was that. But that's why I want to use my voice to help people know that these things happen. Please be aware, please believe. And then for people that are in this situation, male or female, they might not know what they're in at the time. If I didn't find the resources, I would have never understood what I was dealing with. And for people that have left the situation, that are still in that grieving process or that confused process, part of the process, that there is life after to be had.
I love that. So many fantastic, powerful insights, just even now, just when you're speaking, as well as what's in your chapter. It's just so important to bring this awareness. And I really wanted to keep kind of the essence of your chapter when we came across that kind of like little, bump in the road with the wording that you had in there. And I really went back and forth about how to, change that, but not change it. And, to not, like you said, to not water it down, but still make it readable for every single reader who is reading this book. And where do we find that balance? And I think that once you explained it, that you didn't want to water it down, it made total sense. And so we did find that perfect compromise, I think, where it is, written in symbols in the chapter, but it isn't a completely different word. So I just, that part of this chapter, I think, is, really important, because there's a bigger message there, that people do water things down, and we don't want to see the uncomfortable things. And society does just want to see those Instagrammable family moments, or Instagrammable houses and the cars and the vacations and all the pretty things, when that's not real life for a lot of people.
Right.
So when you first found out about this collaboration, what made you decide to jump in?
God's timing is always perfect, right? So I do love to write, and it is something that I enjoy doing, and I feel like I'm half decent at, although I loved the editing process. I learned a lot in that as well. So as I mentioned earlier, my friend Beverly is also in the book, and she is the one that shared the information with me and said, hey, you might want to reach out to Joe and see if this might be a good fit. And when I say God's timing is always perfect, first of all, Beverly and I have talked about for 20 years doing more something in life together when it comes to our very different stories and life, but yet this like shared love and passion that we have for so many things. And honestly, I had started to share some of the bits and pieces of my story just in very minimal ways prior to my ex-husband passing away. And when he did pass away, it kind of halted that. It halted it for several reasons. One, because it started to take me on a journey that I didn't anticipate personally. And then I also have my children to consider. They are adults now, but their healing journey is vitally important to me. And while I don't think that it would have ever stopped my purpose, I needed to make sure that it wasn't bad timing for them. They're still healing from a lot. And I think they'll always be part of all of us that have life. We live life. So there's always, trauma, right? And traumas, little t or big T, are not to be compared. One person's pain doesn't trump another person's pain, no matter what it is. So when I was invited to look into this collaboration, it has been a couple of years since he passed away. I'm not saying that all healing is done or that there's not still grief and everything, but it was just the right time. It was the right timing. So what made me want to participate was like, okay, this is the opportunity. This is the door that was supposed to be here in this moment in time. So it was meant to be for me. It really was.
I love that. That's awesome. So writing seems to bring out different experiences for different people. And we did talk a little bit about some of that for you, but so how was the rest of the actual writing process for you? And did anything surprise you along the way?
Yeah. I think I knew ahead of time that it was going to be emotional for me to do it. Because although I said I had shared, some writing bits and pieces in different ways before, it wasn't ever kind of to this depth, right? I hadn't ever gone to the point of maybe sharing a little bit more of some of the details of behind the scenes. It was just more of my outward kind of processes of maybe what I was going through in a specific moment. I would journal it and post it or whatever. So it was definitely emotional. I would write a few lines and then I would go out into my living room and I would just grieve for a couple of hours. And I would come back and I would sob as I was typing some more because I was putting myself back. And I do not believe in forgetting about our past. I know that a lot of coaches and therapists, and I know that is what works for a lot of people, and that's the message that they send. But I lived too long in denial. I lived too long in burying childhood trauma and adulthood situations that I believe that when something comes forward in us now and it's from our past, I believe in feeling it, allowing it, processing it, accepting it, loving it, hating it, all the things that you need to do. So then that's how you find peace with it. And it might come up again. And so it just, I really believe in connecting with our past, not forgetting about our past, and just learning to love the little girl or little boy in the past that maybe wasn't loved in that moment, that then allowed us to get into future situations, right? So I ramble, so I forget what your question was.
Okay. And you even brought that up in your bio. So once your chapter was finished, you have that in part of your bio that you really, rather than forgetting the past and trying to just focus on the future, you really believe in incorporating all of that into, because that's who we are, right? Like exactly what you're saying. Why would we want to forget about that stuff? It actually made us who we are. And that then kind of circles back around to your chapter as well, as what you went through with him and subsequently after has made you who you are. Right. So that's, I think it is important to, and I love the fact that you said that word, like, allow yourself to hate it as well, feel it, because again, like that's, people are told to just like squash that down, try to not, don't feel hatred, all of those things. Right. But sometimes it really helps to just have that moment. And I mean, don't live there, right? But have that moment. Yeah.
Right. And I think what you say, don't live there, that's a very important point, and actually a pivotal point in my chapter as well, is that I didn't realize that hating him was, I didn't realize I was using that for my will until he died. Right. And that's where actually the title of my chapter comes from, because when that happened and it took me down this other journey of also, and I still, here's the thing, even with the abusive situation and the Jekyll and Hyde, I do still cry for him. I mourn what we were supposed to have. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I think some people misunderstand that when you're sharing to help other people, when I'm sharing the victim story, or when I'm sharing the things that I've been through to help other people, it's not because I want to remain a victim. It's not because I keep myself there. People misunderstand and think that I hate him, or not forgiving him means that I'm not moving on or I'm a bad person. But I don't forgive him for making me afraid. I have empathy for what made him that way, but right now, I do not forgive him for the things that he deliberately knew he was doing. And maybe someday I will choose that. And if other people choose that, that's perfect for them. My voice is for people that know that you can have a life and heal and move on in your way, in the way that will be right for you. And, we're all influenced by spirituality, by if you look at psychology, there's people that believe in just cognitive therapy. There's people that believe in just behavioral therapy. There's people that believe in just biological, influence. But I think it all impacts us, and when I mentioned in the book about being angry or hateful at God or at his servants or at therapists, it's not that I don't believe in all of these wonderful things. And it's not that I hate all in those moments. I hate it. And you can't hate God if you don't believe in him, right? So you can't be mad at him if you don't believe in him. And same thing with pastors and therapists that I went to for help. I'm not saying that they're all bad. I'm saying that they just don't have a full awareness. And that's just what I want to bring light to, is that just because you believe in God and forgiveness, or just because you believe in, certain things that check off a certain diagnosis on a test, doesn't mean that the life and psychology and reality of living things is that simple. So.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many factors to our lives, so many, bits and pieces everywhere, that is just an amazing outlook to have. Because we can go down these rabbit holes of one thing or another, and these, just like on a path in one direction, right? But it is all encompassing, and all of these pieces, are a much bigger whole, I guess, is what, what I mean? Like,
yes, exactly.
even with healing, we're mind and body and spirit, right? We're not just, healing like one piece or a little, section of ourselves. It's a whole package.
Absolutely.
So based on this experience, do you think that you'll want to write your own book in the future, or be in another collaboration at some point?
Definitely. Yeah. First of all, you are an angel. you made this process so amazing, so simple I'm not saying it was simple on your end, because you did so many things, but for those of us participating with you, you made it so simple. The process was just fantastic. So would I want to be in another collaboration? If it's run like this, absolutely. And as far as my own, I have so many titles and themes in my mind, because like I said, our chapters are a part of our story, right? And then even just the things that I have done to bring myself to this point, I would love to write about, to help other people. And then I know that, I'm a lifelong learner and a lifetime healer. I don't think that I'm done. I'm not proclaiming to be there and to have it all figured out. I just know where I have come. So to share that in writing with other people, I really do think I would love to do that.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for the kind words. That means a lot. Thank you.
They're very true.
So what's your top piece of advice for someone that may be thinking that they want to become a published author?
Well, so I would definitely say if you are going to do a collaboration, first of all, don't think that you can be the one that's doing it, in charge of it, unless you are willing and ready to really work hard along the way to be able to make the process for those that participate in it as wonderful as Joe has. If you are listening to this and you want to do that. And I'm not saying that people can't do that, but I'm saying I think you should get a little bit of experience, maybe it being part of a collaboration under your belt first. And then also, I found out about this, like I said, through my friend Beverly, who knew you from other avenues. So it was kind of a trust issue. Like I felt comfortable because, my very good friend, almost like, not spoke for you, but what's the word I'm looking for? Advocate, like she trusted you, so then I trusted you, right? So, and then what you were using the funds for, I love that so much. I think that that's beautiful. I love that, and I can't wait to see, I hope you're able to take pictures or, of the house it's built and everything. So yeah, I would say just be comfortable with who is a part of it and the reasons for it. And I think starting with a collaboration or articles, on blogs or something, start small just so you don't overwhelm yourself. And you learn so much being on this side of it, so yeah.
That's amazing. Such great advice for sure. So what else are you up to and what's next for you?
Well, I kind of always have too many irons in the fire, but I don't know. I kind of love to live that way, I guess. But
I do too. I totally get it.
So there's some personal stuff going on, but by the time, people might see this interview, who knows, in 2 years, but by that point, the other stuff I have going on will be done. So what I mean by that is, I have some surgery coming up. My mom has some stuff coming up. But as far as my passion to help other people, even though this part of my story was about, the journey of some of my situation with my ex-husband, I want to help women in general that just kind of are just coming to the realization that, how did I get here? What happened? Whether it's from out of a bad situation or even just life. Sometimes people just wake up in the, middle of life at any point in time and be like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, So there's reasons for that. Some of it you have control over, some of it you just have an awareness of and accept, and some of it you can change if you want to. So I just want to help women that kind of have that sense of, what happened and how the F did I get here? With characters or spelled out, however you're comfortable with it.
That's amazing. And again, so important because, a lot of us kind of just stumble through life and we're not really sure what we should be doing. And we feel like something's missing. And then, yeah, you have these what the F moments.
Right. And when you realize, when you learn how to learn what that is, it gives you a whole new sense of identity. And that's kind of what the signature program that I've been working on is called Identity. And I take people through the acronym of identity in different ways. So, so for example, the first I is literally I, and then decisions and emotions and so forth and so on. So I would really like to start a full group cohort this coming January. So my very imperfect website that's there, and little bits and pieces are getting put together at a time. But if you go there now, it's there, but you have to reach out to me via email. But very soon there will be opportunities to sign up for things clickable on there as well.
I love that. I love the word. I love the acronym. I love that you're basically building a program around that. Wow.
Yes.
That is awesome. So amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed getting to know more about Mimi and want to connect with her and want to be in her amazing new program, you can do so through her website, mimihricko.com, and her last name is spelled H-R-I-C-O. No, H-R-I-C-K-O, right?
Yes. Yes,
I'll try to get it right.
that's okay.
I will also actually spell it out in the video link under this video, so that everyone gets there properly. Mimi, thank you so much for being in this collaboration and for your time today. You're just such an inspiration, and your open, honest, raw, vulnerable chapter is so powerful. And I'm so honored that you chose to share your story in Absolute Will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so honored that you allowed me to be a part of it.
All right, we will talk soon. Bye.
Bye.